Monday, September 9th, 2019. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public and the press on January 3rd, 2019, and was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and JSA 10:4-7.
Roll call?
Councilmember Williams? Here. Councilmember Carreri?
Here.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Here.
Councilmember Wahlberger?
Here.
Council President Berman.
Here. Please rise to salute the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you wouldn't please remain standing. If we could just have a moment of silence for all of the individuals that were lost at 9/11/2001, before, during, from that, and then after. Thank you. Okay, we have a few proclamations this evening. The first one we have is Judy Storms, who is the Sussex County Senior of the Year. She is here this evening with Jack. Judy, if you wouldn't mind stepping forward. Whereas senior citizens are a valuable resource and continue to serve as leaders, mentors, volunteers, and important active members of the community. Whereas the County of Sussex has chosen Judith Storms as the 2019 Senior Citizen of the Year for her many contributions in this community. Whereas Judy, a very active community volunteer over the years with her church community, the Barnhill Center with Therapy Dog Jack, the Historical Society, Glenwood Ambulance Squad, and such organizations as Daisy, Project Self-Sufficiency, local food pantries, as well as many other organizations. And whereas Judy has demonstrated in countless ways her dedication to the welfare of others and has earned the respect, appreciation, and affection of people from all walks of life. And whereas Vernon Township recognizes the extraordinary voluntary efforts of Judy and urges all citizens to show appreciation for the important role volunteers serve in our society. Now therefore be it proclaimed with sincere gratitude and appreciation, Vernon Township congratulates Judith Storms, 2019 Senior of the Year, County of Sussex, presented on this 9th day of September 2019. Harry J. Shortway, Mayor. Jean Murphy, Council President. Next, we have Mr. Stephen Stiles, Sr. He is from the Sussex County Technical School. Will Mr. Stiles please come forward? I would have called her up. I didn't see her.
Mr. Stiles and the students that he teaches does so much for this community. They make these banners. They make them for the Senior Olympics, the snowshoe event, the turkey trot. It's Sustainable New Jersey. The welcome to Vernon signs and wooden trailhead signs are in the process of being made. He helped us with the community guide. They actually printed them out. The Trail Challenge pamphlet. The students come up with the designs and work with Michelle, and that's why I wanted her to be up here, and with Mr. Stiles for revisions, redesigning. And this takes a while, and these students are really into it, and they're led by a fine teacher. Tonight's the night of the teacher. And the Whoville backdrop for the township tree lighting. So they do all this work to help us in Vernon here. They save us lots of money, but I think it's really important because it makes it student-centered. The students are participating, the students are contributing to our communities, and so we thank you so much. So, that being said, proclamation. Vernon Township hereby recognizes the valuable service provided by Sussex County Technical School students under the educational leadership of Mr. Stephen Stiles, Sr. Students, through their creativity, hard work, and dedication, assisted Vernon Township in creating a community garden sign, sustainable New Jersey banner, snowshoe banners, senior Olympic banner, trail challenge brochures, as well as the Vernon Community Guidebook. Vernon Township recognized the extraordinary efforts of the Sussex County technical students for their help with these Vernon Township projects and instilling a greater pride in our community. Vernon Township hereby honors Stephen Stiles Sr. and the Sussex County Technical School students for dedicated service to Vernon Township, presented by my hand on September 9th, 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, and if we can continue to be service, that's what we try to do. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I did just want to mention, I'm not sure if I heard it, but Mr. Stiles is a resident of Vernon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Must feel good seeing your students' projects
It
in our
does,
town,
very,
right?
very much. I just went through past the dog park on the way here.
And you saw the sign?
Yeah, and again, anything that we can do, being part of the community and part of the county is very important to us. So, and it gives the students a chance to do real projects. So, very nice.
It's really great, really
Yes.
is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the Childhood Cancer Proclamation. Would Councilmember Ohms please read that proclamation?
Proclamation recognizing and declaring the month of September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Vernon Township. Whereas children across New Jersey bravely fight against Burkitt's lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a form of pediatric cancer, and whereas, in gratitude to all those who have helped the children and their families on their journeys to recovery, the Township of Vernon would like to help raise awareness for childhood cancer. And whereas each year, pediatric cancer interrupts children's lives and limits the potential of thousands of young Americans, and it remains the leading cause of disease-related death for children. And whereas September has been declared as National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and in effort to raise awareness, everyone is encouraged to go gold to show support and promote recognition of those young lives affected by cancer. And whereas during Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, we come together to remember all those whose lives that were cut short by pediatric cancer, to recognize the loved ones who know too well the pain it causes, and to support every child and every family battling cancer each day. We join with their loved ones and the researchers, healthcare providers, and advocates who support them as we work toward a tomorrow where all children are able to pursue their full measure of happiness without the burden of cancer. Now and therefore be it proclaimed by the Mayor and Council of the Township of Vernon that September 2019 shall be known as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the Township of Vernon.
Thank you. And next, we have Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Would Councilmember Carreri please read that one?
Yes, Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas prostate cancer is a serious threat to men's health across New Jersey and the nation, and whereas while the causes of prostate cancer are still unknown, men with certain risk factors may be more likely to develop the disease, and most men who suffer from prostate cancer are over the age of 65, and those whose fathers, brothers, or sons have had the disease are also at greater risk. And African American men experience both the highest incidence and the highest mortality rates. And whereas increased public awareness of this disease, its risk factors, and its symptoms may save lives as men across New Jersey learn to recognize the warning signs of prostate cancer as listed at www.cancer.gov. And whereas prostate cancer is treatable when detected early, and prompt treatment can significantly reduce the suffering and deaths caused by this disease. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Vernon that the month of September shall be proclaimed Prostate Cancer Awareness Month in the Township of Vernon, and that we encourage citizens to stand together against this disease. September 2019 is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month in Vernon Township, signed by Harry J. Shortway, Mayor, and Gene Murphy, Council President.
Thank you.
To address that proclamation.
Certainly.
I don't know how many know this, but I am a cancer survivor. In spring of 2015, it was suggested, it was suspected I had cancer. On August 25th of 2015, it was confirmed I had cancer. And the only reason why I'm here today, because they gave me 2 to 3 years to live without surgery, is early detection. And that's what I want to stress. And it really is only a simple blood test. Now, they rated from aggressiveness, 1 being less aggressive to 10. I was a 9. And like I previously said, 2 to 3 years to live. I had till December after finding out to be operated on, which I did. And so I'm approaching 4 years now, cancer-free, and every 6 months I get tested. I cannot stress the importance of getting that PSA test, which is just a blood test. It saved my life, and we all know with breast cancers, we tell everybody, it's early detection. You need to get tested. And I know, Ms. Holmes, you could lecture on us because being a nurse and everything. So I want to stress to everyone, get those tests. They really are really nothing, and it can save your life. Thank you.
May I comment as well? Whenever you have blood work done, always follow up with the results. Never say, oh, well, the doctor didn't call me, everything's fine. Always get the results. Before they draw your blood at the LabCorp or wherever you're getting it drawn, you have to tell them you want a result of your blood work, so it's sent to your home. I can't even count the times things were detected too late because the client or the patient didn't follow up with their lab work and the doctor didn't catch it.
And the majority of
So
prostate
always.
cancer is so slow, they just monitor it. And most males over 70 have it. It's just that it's slow. So it's nothing to be, the fear is when you don't get tested. So, and I'm looking at our audience here and up here. If you're hitting that middle age and older, I was 57, I guess, when I first developed it. So get tested. Please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we move on to our public comments. Please note public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person on current agenda items only. May I have a motion to open the floor to public comment? Motion. May I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there anyone from the public that would like to step forward and make any comments on any agenda items? Please do.
Hi, just Stacy Vernon, Silver Spruce and Vernon. I just would like to make a comment on Resolution 183. I went on to Friday to look up to see what entailed the $2 million, and I could not find any place a breakdown of what that is for. So I know in the past you've said I can't ask questions, but that I should submit them in writing. So my suggestion is that we have more time to make a submission because there wasn't enough time for me to submit to find out what that is for. Friday at 2 in the afternoon to Monday night is not enough time for a submission to get an answer back. So is there some way that that can be changed so that we can get information?
Well, are you asking that the agenda be posted earlier?
I'm at
I mean,
either that, or
what-
I'm asking for a solution. How do we obtain the information if there's not enough time from Friday afternoon to Monday evening? So either post it earlier so we have time to submit our request,
Well-
or publish it with this so that we can see?
I'll let the clerk answer
I
that.
did provide the ordinance detail to the.
That's what I'm
I
asking
did
for.
provide it to the webmaster. I don't know if she didn't post it. I'll have to look at the pages.
I didn't see
However,
a
if you
detail.
Come over to me at the beginning of the meeting, you could have asked me right then.
Okay,
Or
well, I
anytime
didn't,
during the day.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I could have, but I wanted to bring it up to the
Yeah.
president.
And-
You could have asked.
Right, and just to clarify on the posting of the agenda, I would like to just kind of comment, when I first was on the council, a new member in 2014, the council was receiving the agenda at 4:30 on a Friday.
Right, I know, it was
So-
always late.
But what happens is it's a changing element. So sometimes, we have to adjust the agenda depending on, as items change. Administration has a deadline to try to give things on a Tuesday. The clerk usually is supposed to give the council the agenda by Wednesday. But like I said, as things change, and it becomes a little premature sometimes to post things that we need to change and update, because as Lauren mentioned, when it's sent to the webmaster, the way the webmaster puts all of this on the website, and correct me if I'm wrong, she needs the whole package. It can't be done piecemeal. Then she has to start all over, and it's somewhat of a long process. We don't do it here internally. So providing the agenda to the public at noon is the time. I mean, like I said, if there was something that was not posted on it, that,
Well, maybe I might have
Well-
missed it, but I did go through, and I could not find the details of
Right.
what that $2 million is
and
for.
and something else that did occur was like this week, we needed, our clerk needed to have all the information to the webmaster by Thursday, because they were doing some
Something
upgrade
else.
on their end that we had no control over.
Okay.
So, like I said, and we did not want to provide the public with the posting of
Right.
everything. So,
Is there a way it can be included, the breakdown can be included right in the printout?
I'll make sure I bring it to the webmaster's attention then.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would appreciate
Yeah.
that. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that have any comments, if you'd like to step forward? Seeing no one, may I have a motion to close?
Motion.
May I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Why did I lose my agenda? Yes. I shuffled. Okay, next we have our minutes for August 20th, 2019. May I have a motion to adopt the minutes?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Blume,
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fantasil.
Yes.
Councilmember Wolverher,
Yes.
Council President Harden.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt.
Okay, next we move on to our items for discussion. The first discussion, it's an ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, amending the supplemental Chapter 5 of the Municipal Code of the Township of Vernon entitled Administration of Government. It's to update the rules and order and procedure governing council meetings. Are there any council members that would like to start this discussion?
I see in here that, where was it, number 3 under F. I'm sorry, not number 3.
Was that where you said some?
Yeah, it says somebody,
Standing?
yeah, because it had in here that they need to stay in the seats, as long as seats were available. If somebody wants to stand in the back of the room for the whole meeting, God bless them. I mean, but, you know, that was one of the things I saw.
Oh. It's under F1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you just want to strike that?
Yeah.
The line actually says, "All persons are to be seated if seating is available." And there's beepers being off. There are people that still have beepers? I guess maybe emergency services have beepers?
Yes,
Okay,
pagers.
pagers, beepers, okay. I just saw that and thought, oh. Any other council members see anything that's,
Ms. Murphy, may I be included in this discussion?
sure.
Thank you. I have some constitutional issues that I think we need to address or discuss. When we talk about meeting behavior, what constitutes profanity or obscenity? What constitutes a personal attack? Now, we've all known, I've sat here and I've been accused of using Nazi tactics, and I'm a terrorist, and I think you just got to shed them off. We know who we are, and our friends and our family know who we are. I just don't want to see us going down a road we're going to end up in litigation. I think we need to define a process to have someone removed from a meeting, such as a warning, refrain from other comments while seated in the audience, which we've done numerous times, request them to leave. If it continues, then we have the sergeant of arms come up and escort them out. And we can do this under, I would define it under 2C 29-1, obstructing administration of law or other governmental function, which is clearly a governmental function. And if they're talking loud, not only the audience can't hear what's being said, but other people up here. And they have a right, the audience has a right to hear what the council's discussing. The official presiding over the meeting has the authority to expel from the chambers or compel the arrest of unruly individuals. We don't want to go there, but we have to make it clear this is a potential result, consequence of your unruly actions. Disrupting a meeting is a disorderly person's offense punishable by fine, and I've yet to see it, incarceration, up to 6 months in jail. The standard used for evaluating this type of conduct is typically considered a balancing test, and it is a difficult test to put there because we want people to speak, but we need to go forward with these meetings. This is the council's business meeting. You need to conduct business. It should be applied before taking any action which may abridge the constitutional rights of a citizen. It is best to inform the public of the process in an effort to prevent any future misunderstandings. Failure to include this language and address the aforementioned concerns could lead to litigation and possibly a lawsuit by the ACLU. So these are just things I'd like the council to consider as the constitutional issues here. I just think we might want to be more clear the process if we could have to come to expelling somebody from a meeting, which none of us want to do. But I think we're clear up front. These are the rules. This is a business meeting where the council conducts business. I think it'll only help us. Thank you.
And to the mayor's point, one of the items you do not want to get into is having somebody physically removed from the meeting, because that's real. You know, my opinion is I've always just tried to. With the last meeting, it was like we just took a recess. Things were getting, you know, it was both from the council but from the public, and sometimes it's just a timeout, and everybody kind of catches their breath. And then you continue. So there are ways to handle it because it's those things, as far as having to remove somebody, it is something that would have to have. We had a meeting, and actually when I did have the police called, and the police officer did remove someone. And it just escalated to the point that now the officer witnessed something. So there are times, but like I said, I think the last thing you want to do is remove somebody from a meeting. But the warnings are in, and, depending on the season, things tend to get a little different.
Silly.
Different.
Well,
So,
what I could do, if the council would allow it, is we can make some revisions to Section F and more clearly define what profanity or obscenity is, and also put a mechanism in for someone to be warned prior to them being removed from a meeting.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree with you, Mayor. Personal attacks, what's the definition of a personal attack? I might feel something's personal, but that person saying it is not meaning it in a personal manner. I mean, it's so subjective. So I agree, that needs to be looked at also. Very subjective.
As far as removing people, obviously it's the last thing you want to do, except if it is a public safety issue. Like we had 200 people in here, plus with lots of little kids, and somebody turned off the lights. Now, I don't know what it looked like from there, but from here, it was scary for them because, the spotlight is on here, so you could all see what we're doing. We couldn't see anything. And that's a real, hazard. Something like that happens, somebody should be removed for creating that situation. But beyond, physical threats, it's the town's meeting.
I think one of the worst things, having sat in the audience, is when someone is continually yelling out and talking, it prohibits the public from hearing, because if our audio system,
Courtesy to their
Yes.
fellow attendees, that they're able to hear everything, because I've heard more than once somebody asking somebody to stop doing the cat calling, just so they could hear what the business at hand was.
But if, like I said, this is a discussion item, so
Okay, well-
our attorney can adjust, and that's
Sure.
why we have it as a discussion item, just to be able to add some things to it, so
Sounds good.
do a revision. And
I'll make a revision to section F and can be introduced at the next meeting.
Thank you. Our next is the transient accommodations ordinance. Any, give you a minute to find it.
If I could just give a little context for the council, what we've tried to do here with the transient accommodation or short-term rental ordinance is define what a short-term rental is, create definitions around individuals that both rent short-term rentals, meaning occupy it, as well as people that offer their houses or apartments or condominiums for rental as a short-term rental. The intention of the ordinance as drafted is to create a set of initial regulations for the operation of short-term rentals and what qualifies and does not qualify as a short-term rental, and also to create a procedure whereby the house will be inspected, a certificate of occupancy will be issued, and then finally a registration process so that the short-term rentals in town are registered, so the township has an idea with respect to the number of short-term rentals in town through the people hopefully voluntarily participating in this program. This is just a starting off point. There's been a lot of discussions about short-term rentals, so any comments that the council have are certainly appreciated, and we're more than ready to go back to the drawing board if you feel that there are some things that we've left out or some things that you want to remove.
So you're saying this is just to register people?
This is just a registration process. Well, in addition to creating a set of rules and definitions for what a short-term rental is and what properties can and cannot be used as short-term rentals.
Okay, but what's the benefit?
The benefit would be you get an idea within the town of the number of properties that are being offered as short-term rentals if the owner participates. And all owners should be required to participate in the registration process.
Okay, so what happens if they don't?
If they don't, you can fine them.
Okay. So we're just taking a census of short-term rentals? That's
I don't
all we're
thi-
doing at this point?
I don't think you're taking a census. You're creating a framework and a set of rules to build off of for regulating short-term rentals now and in the future.
And you're adding the
And
safety.
then, are we going to tax them in the future?
That's up to the council to decide.
Because I think that's, I mean, if we're going to use the tax, I just want to say something for short-term rentals. With us not moving forward to collect the tax on it, we're allowing short-term rentals. Now, Ms. Murphy.
Excuse me, we're not, they're already allowed. So we're not, it's not that
No,
we're.
no, I didn't finish.
just wanted to
I
say,
didn't finish my sentence, but I wanted to ask you real quick, what's Highland Lakes doing?
that Highland Lakes is having everybody there. I was told by Jack that they have not accepted or denied, like, they're not acknowledging it or disapproving or approving residents to have short-term rentals. But what they are requiring is that the residents register with them who is renting the home. So they know there's a
So did we
tenant.
get that? Are they going to
No.
register with us?
I asked if they would be providing that list to us, and they said no.
Well, first of all, I think we all have to do the same thing. How can one group of people have different standards than the other? But anyway, what I wanted to say about short-term rentals is that we're allowing this in our town, so they're taking business away from our hotels, because they have to pay a tax. We're taking business away from our bed and breakfast, and then on top of that, they're not paying tax. So I think we're doing disservice to the people that do conduct business in this town, that pay tax on their hotel accommodations. So I don't think there's equity there. We're taking their business, we're taxing them, but the other people that are taking their business, we're not taxing them. So I think that's an inequity that really needs to be thought about with our business owners in town. But, so anyway, to just get a census and not go forward, it just is a moot point.
Okay, so,
Are they going to be, are they going to get inspected once they
Yes.
register? So now how do we know Highland Lakes people are being inspected? If my house needs to be inspected down here for my short-term rental, then I'm hoping they need to be inspected also. So if we don't know who's a Airbnb, how are they going to get inspected? So we want one half of the town to be safe, but the rest of the town, we don't care about the safety?
that's not it.
Well, that's how it has to work.
No,
Either you allow them in your community or you don't.
You asked what Highland Lakes, that's what Highland Lakes is saying, but that does not, they're not protected under Highland
Well,
Lakes.
then how are we going to, if they're not going to give us the list, how are we going to go in
Those-
and
those-
check it?
Those residents would be required under the township to come and register. They're required. Just because Highland Lakes is not sharing their list does not mean they're not required to come. It's just like if you rent out, if you own a condominium and you rent it out, you must have your certificate done. You must do it. Now, one of the things, and just so you know, just to kind of go back a little bit, is in 2006, there was an ordinance that was introduced to prohibit bed and breakfast in R1 and R2 zones,
Okay.
but it was never adopted. So I'm just saying is, and this was what stemmed from that article when that one home in the Summit, that they wanted to turn that into a bed and breakfast. And there was an outcry from the residents, and
But
the
it
owner.
was never approved.
Right, the owner changed his mind, never opened the bed and breakfast. So in turn, what happened is the ordinance was never adopted. So that, just so you know, that was something that happened. But residents need to understand that regardless of what it is we do, it's not that we're allowing them, they're already allowed. But what's happening is that the residents are
Well,
not.
by saying allowing them, we're not preventing them. Okay, go ahead.
No, they're allowed.
I know
by
they're
code.
allowed, yes.
They're allowed.
Yes.
The other thing is, in the Appalachian Hotel, I believe that there was, and I'd have to get a hold of people that own there, but there was a time that I recall they wanted to have all of the owners put their units in a hotel, rent in a pool. So they all had to rent, and what happened was these owners were not, they weren't making any money. So what they did is they started renting them out on their own. And I don't know where that ever left off, because if you did own a unit there and you were putting it in their rental pool and you weren't seeing anything coming in from it, it was because what was happening is, I guess whoever was running it, they were taking out so many fees for whether it was cleaning or the rental process or whatever, they were not realizing any profit from it or any money. So they started doing this on their own. But I'm not exactly sure where those owners, I believe they're still able to do that on their own. So if you rent out on your own without using an Airbnb or one of those, you're not subject to a tax anyway. Because that was a provision of the law
Okay.
that the
All right.
governor rolled back. So you also have to figure out, like I said, if somebody and I'll just use Highland Lakes, if they have put something online, if they have people that have rented from them for years, and they're returned, just like they do down at the shore areas, and that's where the outcry came from, was down at the shore areas where they were renting to repeating customers, pretty much, and now subject to a tax. So there's a lot of moving parts in this whole thing, but the prime thing I think that we need to look at is the safety. And if there's a provision put in there that if they are turned in, that they end up having to pay a fine that they did not come in and register. It's, like I said, it's like if you don't do this in town, if you find out that they've closed without it, there's a fine. But I think even the form in fire prevention probably has to be, I haven't read it lately, but I think that form, they might need a new form there, because I think it may say that for every occupancy. So now, you're certainly, if people are using it and renting it, for 2 nights every weekend, let's say, or just 1 weekend a month, every month, they're not going to have it inspected for every occupancy. Maybe be 6 months for the smoke detector. But like I said, that'll all fall under fire prevention. But a new form would have to be created in fire prevention just to really, work for this, because although it's the same process.
And how much is the charge for the?
It's $70 right now, but a portion of that money goes to the state. I think it's $25 is
It's
here, I
regulated
think
by
it's-
the state.
Yeah.
May I
It's-
make some points here and some concerns? First, the list. Vernon, we passed this ordinance. We will have a list. This will benefit the lake communities because all they have to do is open the list, and now they know who's in their community, who has a short-term rental and who doesn't. So this would actually, I think, help them. Second, I talked to Mountain Creek about this just this morning. There's one individual, they said, has 6 hotel rooms or condominiums not in their hotel program. So he's using Airbnb, and that way he escapes paying the 3% tax. So he's getting a free ride on that, and they are advertised, according to them, on the internet. I think the ordinance needs to address the hotel occupancy tax, and I'll get to that in a minute, thanks to Patrick, your article. How the ordinance is administered should be at the discretion of the mayor and his or her administration. There won't be time to get this implemented right now, but I think this really should fall under day-to-day operations. And I don't know where the next mayor will take it, or their administration, or how they're going to be set up. I think the council should suggest how it should be done, but it's the governing body can just suggest it, day-to-day operations. It really is the mayor's responsibility under the Faulkner Act and his fiduciary or her fiduciary duty to see how this is carried out. Now, I read the article, Patrick, that you addressed by Joe Bevins, and it's rather lengthy, and I read all the other articles, and he says there's no reason for local policymakers to let Airbnb, and this is all the internet platform based, bypass tax or regulatory obligations. Because Airbnb is clearly a business competing with hotel lodging, it should be subject to the same taxation regime or regimens as hotels. The single biggest cost imposed by Airbnb is that as more residents go into the short-term rental businesses, there has been, like in Brooklyn, a shortage of some housing. So the housing values have gone up. Not necessarily a bad thing in Vernon because many of us have not recovered from 2007, the decline in our home values. So, I mean, those are some of the things. There's at length what's pro, what's con. But to me, the glaring thing was they should be treated as all our other short-term rentals, just to be fair, level the playing ground with everybody else. So,
Well,
thank
if
you.
you were to buy a house and all you did was Airbnb year-round, that's a business. You bought that house to
People
rent
already
it
do
out.
that.
Pardon me?
People are doing that.
Oh, no,
Here.
I understand that, but then you're not paying tax on it. Like, again, I say the equity. So maybe we want to define Airbnb as a stay of 90 days per year. I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. I went and investigated as well, and I looked at a lot of resort towns and how they defined Airbnb. Some of the towns would only say you could rent your home or your room or whatever out 90 days out of the year. So that would prevent somebody from buying a house and renting it all year round. So that was the thought there. They had a lot of suggestions how they defined it. They only defined you could only rent per rooms in the house. So if you only had 4 bedrooms, you could only have 4 guests in the house. That's the way they defined their Airbnbs. And the list was endless, how they defined them. But those are some things you might want to think about.
Well, but, you know, and the other thing that comes into play, and I'll just say your traditional, and I'll go and I'll say it, you know, your traditional, like, in-law suite, it's supposed to be a family member that lives there. So now, it's like in residential areas, so you're renting a room out, so how does that come into play? I mean, if you can't have an in-law suite without all your approvals and everything else, how do you end up having, you know, and that's just it. It's like, what is our code? And I don't know what the zoning provides. Is it a commercial business you're running in a residential area? I don't have those answers, but it's just like, what is it that we're trying to define here? Because regardless of what we do, there are people that we've heard from, I know I've heard from them, and they're saying, well, we don't want this in our residential neighborhood. Okay, but it's allowed. So that's what people have to understand. It's not prohibited. But again, how do you I don't know what the zoning laws are as far as what's allowed. I haven't looked through all of that just to see, you know.
I think if we regulate them, it may shut down some of them, because they're clearly not going to pass. And that we know where they are. So I'm not trying to promote them. I just don't think we can get rid of them. They're here, and that's why the safety is always the first. Then we're looking at the revenue, and we have to protect our other businesses that are in competition. So you may actually have, I suspect some will close down because they're just not going to pass the regulations.
But that's an important aspect of it, as opposed to going in and seeing what is required under the fire official. What's required for it? Because, you know, it goes back to me, you know, with sleepovers with children. You know, where are they sleeping? In the basement with no windows? You know, I don't know, but I don't know how that would be regulated. Will the fire official go and say, where are the accommodations? I don't know what's required. Is there more that's required? You know, so.
Well, you each invoked different parts of the EPI study without, or with knowing.
It's extensive.
So thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you reading it. And I guess I'm left with 4 questions. And, you know, I was a fan of the Airbnb tax early on because it's a creative solution. We're not the only town in the area dealing with this right now. I mean, you know, Warwick and others are going through the same thing. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can see where they are in process with this and sort of mimic them. So I guess here are my 4 points. The first is, if you look at the EPI study and other studies, when you bring in Airbnbs or people begin renting out rooms or entire homes, they're not adding to the number of people coming to their area to stay. They're taking rooms from hotels. So are we taking a reliable tax base that we have in our hotels and transferring that tax base to an unreliable tax base in the form of Airbnbs, which
I agree with
I
you
agree with
there.
that point that you had
Yes.
just made. Don't be shocked, I agree with you. The other thing is about the lake communities. I mean, just from a limited government perspective, should we let the lake communities govern themselves? Should we let the associations govern themselves? I mean, you know, how much do we try to go above and beyond what they are doing in Highland Lakes, for example? The third point is, you know, anyone I've heard from is a fan of collecting the tax until they think about an Airbnb rental next door to them. And then they're not a fan of it anymore.
Well,
you know?
that's why I would suggest maybe not every, you know, putting a limit. You can only rent out 90 days. So if you did have bad people next to you, it wouldn't be year-round.
I have to
Just
be
a
honest
thought,
with
just
you,
a thought.
I don't want different people moving in and out next door to me either, you know, I mean, we have things like, you know, there are different registries for different kinds of people and things like that, that, you know, you can keep an eye on when someone is stable in one place. You can't do it when you're talking about transient accommodations. You don't really know who's in your neighborhood.
Well, and sorry,
No,
some of the
it's-
towns, you had to live on the property that you're renting out to.
Right.
They defined it that way, so.
That's a consideration.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways you can define or make stipulations of how you want it to run. But I will just say, I don't like the idea of now, okay, we're going to give you a permit or whatever you want to call it, and we're going to go in and we're going to inspect, and now we're going to tax you. I believe you do it all at once. I think it's entrapment. Okay, let's register, let's get safe, and next year we're going to tax you. So some people probably wouldn't even come to begin with
Well,
and
what's
try to
going
get
on?
away with it. But that's all I'm saying.
We have, you know, the building department, what they've done is awesome, you know, from what I hear. You don't have to go to building to find out about permits anymore. It's online. So we have the spatial data that everyone talked so much about. Why aren't we using that? Why isn't there an online portal for registration for these Airbnbs? You know, again, before we start collecting the tax, let's count them up and see how many we have, register them so that we know that they're safe, and so that the fire department knows where these things are, should there be, you know, God forbid, it's some kind of fire or emergency.
They should know where every house is.
Well, I mean, as far as
Des Moines.
knowing where people unfamiliar with the area are staying is an extra emergency consideration. You know, like you treat a hotel guest differently than you treat a resident. You assume a permanent resident here has some knowledge of the area in different types of emergencies. Someone staying here for a week probably doesn't. So I want to go back to that spatial data idea. You know, we can automate the registration fee. We don't need to take up any more people power time. I mean, is that an option?
Well,
You just have to build the program.
just so you're aware, when we started speaking about this a few years ago, as the Realtor, and everybody having to apply for this $70, people had to take off work, or the Realtor had to go do it, and then it becomes, okay, now you got to get the check from them, the whole process. It should be automated, and that was one of the main things is if it's a $70 fee, you can now go online and you can check to see if you have any open permits. So that was one of the steps. But the form is the form. It's the same form. And it's just a matter of it's a little bit more money the closer you get to the, I think it's $125 if it's 5 days before closing or something. But there's administration, and, you know, I know that they've worked on it, but I don't know that they've gotten it to the process of, because it's really like one form. The other thing that came up was in the building department was water heaters. I think, you know, when is a water heater going to break on a Saturday night? So, of course, you're getting it replaced, and then there's this lapse in getting the permit. So if you're hiring a contractor, they can just go in, file for the permit, pay for it, and worry about it later on. But the same thing with fire official. That form should be online. It was brought up. Like I said, they started with the spatial data in the building, and I know that I was told that at certain times they can start to introduce other aspects of that.
Is there a timeline somewhere so we can see when?
Well, we've had this discussion with finance about putting it all online, and the $250 that we were proposing, but it would be the council's suggestion, that permit fee includes, that's for the inspections, and I believe they have to be done twice a year. So we would cover that, we would register them online, so we have all that. So we thought the cost would be very little startup. I think it said $5,000 first time. We would do the forms, get it online, the advertising, and we would take it from there.
Right.
And
Because
the taxes leveling the playoff field, I mean, people come to our town, they use our facilities, the guests, there's more traffic, there's a cost. And again, that was pointed out in the study.
Well, that's a good thing, but just having that form online and being able to pay, I mean, you can pay your taxes, you should be able to just go and pay the $70. It should be easy.
Right.
And, you know, today, I mean, people are tech savvy. They can post all over the place. They can certainly figure out spatial data and figure out whether or not they have any open permits. And it just makes it so much easier, because if this goes into, you know, if we start having people register with short-term rentals in fire prevention, having it automated online will ease the pain of having people come to visit, because they'll do it online. I guarantee you, people will be paying for it online. I mean, people don't even have checkbooks anymore.
Easy there.
What?
Easy there.
Well, well, okay, you might.
But the
I mean-
plan is to put it all online.
Okay.
But we're waiting to see what we're going to do with it.
Right,
Yeah.
but that's the whole thing. But even if the fire prevention form that's used now was online, it would just be a matter of adding a different form, because I don't know if the fee would be different. I don't,
We'll have to talk about fee, but it's not just going to be the $70. We have, also someone has to go in the computer, maintain it, so we want the permit fee to cover all the costs.
well, the permit fee, right, because even, I think if you pay online, you pay a service fee too. If you pay by credit card, there's a service fee on top of that, so the town doesn't absorb that. But like I said, doing that, you know, it ensures the taxpayer that we're not hiring somebody, you know, we're bringing in money and now we're paying it out in a job. Well, if we have it automated, like we should, you know, you're avoiding that.
If we have to hire somebody, we're making a lot of money.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about the hiring thing.
That's okay.
just at
We're
this
making,
point.
we're already
Yeah, I
making a
will.
lot of money then.
Yeah, but you,
Agreed. We would hope we make enough that we need to hire somebody.
No, we
Part-time,
wouldn't,
yeah.
because the mayor already said he would hire somebody, so.
Part-time if
Anyway,
needed.
But regardless of it, we should be automated. I mean, we're in that day and age. And I know we've already started. So, but yes, so thank you for that comment, but yes, that was, you know, something that was
So if
brought
we're
up.
going to introduce this, are we going to introduce this with the?
Are we
dimension
introducing
number?
it?
No,
Yeah,
I'm saying when we go to introduce this, I feel we should have the tax already in here as well. Just
Yeah, but we have to figure out what's coming. And then,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. What did you say?
I was agreeing with you that if we're gonna do this, let's
Do it all together.
do the whole
Do-
package,
right.
because people,
Yeah.
the ones that were just making a buck on the side without having to spend anything might not even bother doing any of this.
Right.
If they now are gonna have to go to town and have a tax and everything else.
and
So you're
then
saying,
he's saying when this is introduced, everything should be in here,
even the tax?
even the
3%
tax.
tax.
Oh,
When
okay.
it's ready, when it's baked, the tax should be in it.
Oh, okay, so they will be not just registering, they will be paying a tax on the rentals.
When it's determined.
Yes.
Because
So we're going to start that right away?
we're not
Not
starting,
just go in and,
we're not starting anything right away. We're
no,
just,
but
right.
when this is
and that's-
passed, it's not going to just be about registering, you will be paying tax.
Right, but the
Oh,
whole
okay.
process of it. And then Councilmember Allberger wrote an article, gave us, it looks like Warwick is having a meeting, he brought this to our attention, on October 21st. And because they're encountering some of the same issues of, what to do, because also these homeowners, they're probably, I mean, that falls on them, but I'm sure they're not telling their homeowners insurance that they're renting this out. But again, and I think you said then Chester was also.
Chester in today's paper.
So I don't
Chester
know-
has a larger article about it. Everybody's
Right.
addressing this.
And we don't know what the laws are in New York, because we found out that with some things, they're much more lax.
I just brought that because like some of it was where they were requiring a floor plan where people were staying. So if the fire departments are inclined to do their pre-planning on these, so now they know this is a business, just like the Alpine House is a bed and breakfast, the old grist mill, Apple Valley, you know you have a different thing to deal with, so it gives them a chance to know and add it into their database. The same with dispatch. Just like you have the one up in Conway, you have a group home for adults. So now it's going to be in that, okay, this is one of our Airbnbs because it's registered as such and should be communicated.
The other item is that some of the lake communities, they have their bylaws. Some of them may want to prohibit. So, right, but, that should be made aware. They should tell us. I mean, it's just like chickens. No. Dare I say chickens? Because if the lake communities prohibit it, like I said, if Highland Lakes, they haven't made a decision, but, we don't know what Lake Walkill. They may say, we're not allowing it. So if something comes up in there that, that becomes a whole nother issue with their community, which I think they police pretty much on their own. But, Highland Lakes, where they have an advantage is that they have the security. So I guess by them having them register, if there's an occurrence that happens, they know who's there at the time.
They may also want to increase their fees if it's a short-term rental compared to a resident, and that's up to the qualified private communities, right? Highland Lakes, Barry Lakes, et cetera. I think everybody's anticipating Legoland probably will open up in 2020, and as I've said before, they're expecting 5,000 people a day visiting. There's 250 rooms, I believe, available up in that area. Middletown has 400 rooms, and I think a lot of people are anticipating coming to here, coming to Warwick, and that will be an advantage for the township, because we have the amenities other towns don't have, and that's Mountain Creek. There, we have mountain biking, et cetera, here, and all the farms that are really starting to produce now also.
I mean, I could see them going to, the table for dinner or apple picking. I don't know if I could see them necessarily staying in Vernon and going to Legoland. I
Well, they
mean,
would shuttle them, and they're already in, some of the resorts are already in discussions with Legoland,
okay.
and I found that out today, too, so,
Today?
yeah, today I found that out.
And the other aspect is that there are people that would never consider renting in a private home. They would always stay in a hotel. So, yeah, because that's, I've experienced that with, going up to Maine and New Hampshire with different, people with skiing groups. Because they always like to stay together, if it's a large group. But like I said, there's a lot of moving parts in this that need to be addressed. Like I said, and I think a big thing is that the lake communities really need to let the town know, will they allow these in their community? Because if they're not allowing them, they'll need to notify. I would think they'll need to notify their residents if they change their bylaws. I'm just looking at Barry Lakes here, so, because it is something to consider. I mean, because, and again, even the people that aren't aware that it's allowed. It's because,
If we as a township allow this, well, I don't want to say allow it because it's already allowed. And
enforce the safety, if we enforce the
if
safety.
we enforce the safety and Highland Lakes says, never mind, we changed our mind, our position is, we don't want this.
Then-
Is there a possible litigation there? Because
What do you mean?
we're trying to,
The ordinance becomes the law of Vernon Township. If Highland Lakes, the only thing Highland Lakes can do would be to prevent short-term rentals. If they allow short-term rentals, the township's ordinance would trump anything Highland Lakes
okay,
enacts.
so any resident wouldn't have the right to, well, anybody can sue anybody.
I mean, you can sue anybody for
Yeah.
anything.
I'm sorry, I'm just asking about we have majority lake community population.
Would you like to open it, since
Can we? Sure.
he's from a lake community? Would you like to open it up to the public? Can I have a motion? Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
Aye.
So you're from a lake community, if you'd like to step up?
I'm biting my teeth here.
Your name?
Scott Geisels, Barry Lakes. So, to Mr. Zelinski's point is basically, the lake communities can make, their bylaws can be more restrictive, but I can't override township, county, state law. I can't make marijuana legal in Berry Lakes, and I can't override township law. So I think that you pass the ordinance that the lake communities have to abide by it. Now individual lake communities will have more restrictive bylaws, will they'll require registration maybe in their office if somebody's engaging in Airbnbs. Maybe some will have they'll prevent it. Barry Lakes we don't address it at all.
Okay.
So it can be all over the map, but I don't think we can restrict it, or go opposed to what the township council decides to do on the issue.
And just to your point, and the point earlier about Highland Lakes maintaining its list that right now they will not share with the township could draft in the ordinance a requirement that if a lake community maintains a list, that list will be provided to the township at the beginning of every calendar year, or whenever time period they designate the list to be provided. So you're correct. The lake communities can only be more restrictive. They can't be less.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to comment on this matter? Please step forward. No? We have a motion to close? We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I got a question. So you're going to build in the tax, what is the tax? Is it 3%?
It's the hotel revenue tax.
And what is that?
I think it's 3%.
It's 3, yeah, okay. So that's going to be built into the
Yeah, the
ordinance
beauty of
when
the
you do it.
tax as well is you can have it administered through the state so that the payment of it functions much like the way the hotel tax does, and that the township gets a check from the state as opposed to adding another administrative layer to the municipality to go out and collect the tax.
Okay.
And I think, like I said, if we could, maybe have fire prevention work on what kind of form they would be.
Well, we would have to have it department-wide, between zoning, financial, and fire prevention, getting the department heads together, so all their needs, all the problems they see, concerns, we need to address it to get it done right.
Right, and I just look at fire prevention because I don't know if there's anything else that they would require with this. And then, like I said, in zoning, I just wonder, are there any areas that it's restricted? Because you are using it for a commercial purpose. So. And then again, I guess, I don't know.
There are some people that just want to ban them. I mean,
There's
I've heard that too.
Yeah. And I'd
Some
rather hear.
communities have, Ridgewood has,
Right.
Burlington
Everything's
has.
fine until it has to go to court. Everything's good until it's challenged.
But
That's the way the world is.
anything else? No? Okay. Move on to the consent agenda. Let's see. Resolution 19-183. This resolution authorizes the sale of bands for the township. Resolutions 19-184 through 19-189 authorize refund of tax overpayments for various entities. Resolution 19-189 is a request for purchase orders be provided to the council. May I have a motion to adopt resolutions 183 through 19189?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Holmes?
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hallberger?
Yes.
Council President Horn?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt resolutions 19183 through 19189.
Next, we move on to ordinance 1901. This is a second reading. An ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, creating a resort service fee in accordance with the Mountain Creek Settlement Agreement. This ordinance memorializes the properties required to pay the recreation fee. May I have a motion to open the public hearing? for
Motion.
Ordinance 1901. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there anyone from the public that would like to step forward and have any comments on ordinance 1901? Please step forward. Seeing no one, may I have a motion to close?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1901?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hallberger?
Yes.
Council President Horn?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt ordinance 1901.
You okay?
Need more?
Next, ordinance 1907. It's my understanding that the engineer still has not been able to submit the paperwork to the county.
That's
For
correct.
this. Do you have any idea when that may?
Well, when we last asked, he said we would probably have had it by now, but of the projects, we'll see if we can get a firm deadline and see if we can't get it on the very next agenda.
Okay.
It still doesn't preclude the county from approving it because they may have things that after they review it and send it back. So it may not be ready for introduction, even if it's ready for submission to the
So-
county.
We'll move it to the first meeting of October? Whatever.
It says October 17th because October 14th is Columbus Day.
October 17th, is that? And I did actually hear from a couple residents today that were inquiring about it, and they were both thrilled that there would be no exit from that street. So, may I have a motion to table ordinance 1907?
Motion.
Second.
For second reading on October 17th, 2019. There's a first and a second. Councilmember Ohms and Carreri. Look at him. Roll call?
Councilmember Holmes?
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hallberger?
Yes.
Motion carries to table ordinance.
Oh, yes, sorry. Next, we have ordinance 1919, an ordinance amending 250-9 of the Vernon Township Administrative Code. Administration and Recreation suggested an increase in the fees for field rental. This authorizes those increases. May I have a motion to open public
Motion.
hearing for ordinance 1907? May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Is there anyone from the public that would have any comments on ordinance 1919? Please step forward. Seeing no one, may I have a motion to close?
Motion.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I have a motion to adopt ordinance excuse me?
1919.
Yeah, I see where it says that, 1919?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Holmes?
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hallberger?
Yes.
Council President Horn?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt ordinance 1919.
Next, we have ordinance 1920, an ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, creating Chapter 408 of the Municipal Code of the Township of Vernon entitled Parking Veterans. This sets up parking places for veterans. May I have a motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 1920?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there anyone from the public that would like to step forward, have any comments on ordinance 1920? Please do so. Seeing no one, may I have a motion to close the public?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1920?
Motion.
There's a first and a second. Roll call?
Councilmember Moon?
Yes.
Councilmember Ferrari?
Yes.
Councilmember Fantastic?
Yes.
Councilmember Allberger?
Yes.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt ordinance 1920.
Next, we move on to our public comments. The public has 3 minutes to comment on any matter. May I have a motion to open the floor to public? May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there anyone from the public that would like to step forward that have any comments on any item? Please do.
Hello, my name is Sally Goodson. I'm from next door, from Hardiston. I'm on the planning board there. And I was here a couple weeks ago, and there was a gentleman that was talking about the pump track, which I had never heard of. And I even, when I left the meeting, called my son, asked him if he had ever heard of one. I saw the presentation, and then asked him to ask my grandchildren if they ever saw it, and they hadn't. So my husband and I drove to Port Jervis last weekend, and I will tell you, I really think you should go and take a look at a pump track. I think if you see it, you'll be as excited as that gentleman was a couple weeks ago. It looks like it's very simple to build. It looks like it's not very costly. I think it takes about 2 acres. And the one in Port Jervis is funded by a nonprofit and local merchants. It's open from sunup to sundown. What I did see was cars pulling up with bikes, and my guess it's it's not the large bike, it's a smaller bike. I don't know what you would call that bike, but it's a dirt bike. It's about this big. They're having a ball, and it's for young kids, it's for adults, and it's for children like 15, 16, and 17 years old. Anyway, I'd love to see it built here, and if it's not, I will suggest it in Hardiston. And if it means that it's only for the residents of your town, and you want to sell decals for people from other towns to come and visit it, my car will be pulled in with bikes, and the children will enjoy it. And then the other thing is just something new to me, and I don't know if it's new to the community, but there's going to be the first community solar panel garden opening up. This is something that is being built other places. Minnesota has over 200. What it is I am in a townhouse, so I can't have a panel on my building, but I could buy a panel and someone else could gain from that electricity. I also it's a good investment for me because I'll get my money back on it. I also feel it's very good as an environmental piece. So I'm just saying that there is an opening. You will be getting an invitation, or you'll get a notice that there's going to be a groundbreaking in Lafayette on October 19th, which is 10 o'clock in the morning. And they're also, probably about the end of November, they'll be turning on the power. I think it's exciting. I think it's a first in New Jersey, and so it really will spotlight something in Sussex County. So we invite you to come. If you want to hear a speaker, I heard a speaker. His name is Alan Spector at the Rotary. I belong to the Rotary in Walk Hill. And he will be speaking at the Vernon Rotary on September 17th at the George Inn. So I invite you to take a look at it. 2 things that are kind of important, I think. Personally, I think they're important for not only New Jersey, but specifically Sussex County, and then Vernon and Hardiston.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that has a comment?
Peg DeStassi again, Silver Spruce. I wanted to compliment on what she said. This past weekend, my son-in-law took my 2 grandchildren up to Port Jervis. Saturday. On the way up, they stopped and ate a breakfast in one of the local restaurants, and on the way back, they stopped and ate a breakfast and had ice cream. So that was 2 meals they ate because they went to the bump track. They had so much fun. They went back yesterday and had a nice lunch at a higher scale restaurant where they actually sat instead of a fast food. So it can be a revenue producer, besides the fact it keeps the kids off the streets, and they had a ball. All they do is talk about it now. Now they called me up and they said, Nana, are we going to get one in town? Because I had told my son-in-law that we were looking at the possibility of having one brought in. And now they're excited. They think it's just the best thing since sliced bread. So just wanted to let you know.
Thank you. And just so everyone knows, I had recommended that Dan Kraus reach out to Tammy Horsfield from the Sussex County Chamber, and he did get in touch with me this week that he actually had reached out to her because she's offered to help out with many projects, so I just thought that would be a good resource for him. And he takes full advantage of every one that he's able to speak to, so. Anybody else have any comments? Seeing no one, may I have a motion to close to public?
Motion.
May I have a first and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor's report.
Thank you. The Wallace trial concluded last week. Defense summations due first week or so in October, followed by the prosecution summation, and we'll wait a decision probably mid to maybe like October 23rd for the judge's decision. It's taken quite a few times going down to Long Valley, Gillette, to testify, but we're highly confident the decision will be in favor of the township. Our new $1.3 million ladder truck is still on schedule for delivery by the end of this month. That'll be housed at McAfee. Tomorrow we will have a pre-construction meeting for Warwick Turnpike, and we're hoping that's going to start next week. Our DPW has been diligently out on Warwick Turnpike fixing the storm drains and the miscellaneous road improvements we need to make before we mill it and pave it. And then the old artificial turf has been removed from Maple Grange Fields, and we hope to have these new fields installed by mid-October. It's in production now. It's actually like a carpet. It takes about 2 weeks to produce it. It took us over about a week to try to come up with a plan to do all the different lines and different sports, and it's pretty busy, but we think Corey and I worked on the weekends, and we had the different sports groups involved also, but it's really difficult to please everyone. But we did the best we can, so we're looking at mid-October, we'll get those fields open. So thank you.
Thank you. Council comments. Councilmember Auberger.
Just want to make people aware there's a blood drive at Glen Meadow Middle School, September 19th, from 3 to 7:30. And Vernon Fire Department is having a calendar raffle if anybody wants to see a Vernon fireman for tickets available.
I don't know any.
That's it.
No comment.
Councilmember Owens.
I just want to say the flowers in the front, selling Chuck, are beautiful, and I'm sure Mary Ellen did those, Mary Ellen Visciconti. They're beautiful.
Nice job.
And then I have a question. People that live in, not the off 517, 94, or the major town roads, but in developments, do you ever repave those, repair and repave?
They were all in the chip and stone program.
So, but what about you have a road that's deteriorating? Who takes care of that?
Well, it depends. If it's our road, we have our DPW goes up and fixes the storm drains. We're looking at Higgins right now, where it never received its overpayment on the asphalt, probably from 20 years ago. So we're trying to find money because I went up there and I looked myself, and then the neighbors, all the residents came out and spoke to me about it. So depending on the roads, we've had this program. It was started by the former administration. We remember we cut the $100,000 off that budget. We're using it for other programs, and we're trying a new process down off of 517 on the roads where they're going to seal it. So they put the char and chip down, and then they're sealing the road because we have so many complaints when we do it. The phone doesn't stop ringing. The residents are upset because it's loose. You can't ride a bike on it. But the cost is 1 to 5. $1 to $5 for that square foot. And if you mill it, it's 1 to 8. So to put down fresh macadam every 15, 20 years, town couldn't afford it.
So what happens, I mean, the road is actually deteriorating.
What road?
There's big gullies on both sides of the road because the road's, you
They
know.
need to call myself or Chuck.
Well, they have.
What
and
road is that?
What road?
They've been told there's no money in the budget for it.
Well, what road?
I don't remember it offhand. I can get you the road, though.
Yeah, 'cause-
They came and spoke to you, Chuck.
I
You know
think
who
I
it
know
is.
who you're talking
Yes,
about,
and that-
and
and
they
they
gave me
showed-
some photos.
It is
and
pretty
we-
bad. So I was curious, I never hear of us ever repairing roads,
We do
other
it
than
all-
doing that stone or whatever.
We do it all the time. They're out constantly repairing roads. In the storm
Then why
drains.
can't they repair that road?
I think you mean more of a repaving process. We had, with just budget cuts, it got away from it, and we're so far behind. The one thing New York was doing, I don't know, we had never looked at it, but they were doing where they grind the road and where we were putting it back down and putting calcium chloride on it to make it a base, and then top coating it. New York in spots, and they did it on some of the roads, and it seems to last as they grind it. They use a hot oil injection. I don't know where the cost falls. I'm sure it must be cheaper than a top coat of fresh asphalt, but it puts the material down, and now it makes it a solid, so it's gonna last. And that might be something to look at, because we are so far behind, we'll never get caught back up.
Do you know what community it's being done in?
I'm sorry?
Do you know what community it's being done in?
Warwick had done it. Ryerson Road was one of the ones that I saw they had done, and that hasn't been touched in 10 years or more. And we always thought that would be an interesting process, but, you know, what's the cost? Like you say, the oil and chip is the cheapest, but some of the roads, as we were prepping them, they're falling apart.
You're talking not the same milling process that they do when they're repaving it.
I'm
You're talking about
that
lighter?
same milling process.
Same
As
exact
they mill, they have a tanker with the hot oil, so it's like more like a foam that as they mill it, it puts it right back down, they're rolling that out, and now that is your solid roadway. It's a stopgap, it's not as same as paving with a 2-inch top coat, but, you know, it's a lot better than currently what we have going on. It's just the nature of the beast. It fell away, you know, everybody cuts budgets. Where does it get cut? I mean, you saw what you had to do with the road department. We were so far behind on vehicles just being able to plow roads.
So my point is, the taxpayer pays a lot of money that the road to their house should not be in disrepair. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the basic thing, is please keep my road safe to my house. So it's something that really needs to be addressed.
No, absolutely, and if there's a safety issue, we absolutely address it. It's a question of whether we're talking about, you know, the appearance or aesthetics versus, you know, what's actually needed. Because we can go anywhere throughout the township and find a lot of roads that have some cracks, that have some little gullies and things
But
of that.
these are big gullies.
Not the photos that I got.
Go
But-
over there,
but-
you'll see.
Well, I don't know, I'm just, if we're
Yeah,
talking
go
about
over-
the same person that came to
Yes.
see me,
Yeah.
they are not big based upon the photos that they gave us.
Yeah, go and take a look at the road. Doesn't look good. And all roads, I mean, not just that person's road, every road. If a taxpayer's paying money, the road to their house should be decent.
Oh, we
That's
agree.
all I'm saying.
And this is where at budget time, people have to make us aware, and not in August when the budget's getting depleted down.
Okay, so for next budget.
Well, yeah, that's, the next mayor will put it in there, but I agree with you.
Okay.
I'm riding my bicycle now because, right, all the time, and well aware of a lot of the potholes now that are out there.
Right, and that's, if your home is sitting in front of a pothole, it should be repaired.
I have a nice one right in front of my driveway.
I was gonna say, if you
Look
drive
at it.
past his house, there's one literally.
You like that one?
Exactly, yeah,
It's just
so you need to
growing.
repair that.
Well, I don't want to make that call to DPW because the mayor's road gets fixed. We've let it go. We actually were scheduled 2 years ago to have that repaved, and I said, no, not while I'm mayor. Of course, my neighbors aren't happy with me, but not while I'm mayor.
We had there was like a 10-year plan, and I know they were working on it. Have we gotten away from that?
We did this year only because we're putting the money to repairs that really need to be made.
Yeah, because you should
But we
have-
were following that to this year.
Yeah, because Sandy, you should have that from
Yeah,
prior
I
years.
know.
I'm just saying is because then you'd at least be able to see maybe what was slated this year and maybe what did not get done, and if that road was there,
Mm-hmm.
or was it done 2 years ago, and maybe there's another deterioration problem there.
Well, before it gets bad, you would think you want to fix it, because it's just gonna, the roads just crack off at the edges and get worse and worse, so you would think you'd want to do it before it got really bad.
I agree.
So, just saying. Okay, that's, I'm done.
Councilmember Crary?
Yeah, since we're talking about roads, yeah, at some point, we're going to be looking at either a massive tax hike or a massive bond to take care of all of the roads in Vernon if you want to repave them all.
No,
I mean,
well, a lot of them are county, a lot of them are state.
Well,
but-
yeah, but, I mean, even on our side of 565, the oil and stone was done last November, and it was gone by January. You know, it just doesn't do well with the elevation. So, again, I'm with you there, we need to do better. The DPW does a good job of
Yeah,
filling
I'm
in the
not
worst holes.
dissing anybody, I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Another note, 2 days from now, obviously, is 9/11. Got a moment of silence. I don't have to tell anybody here, we lost 700 people in New Jersey. Last year, I attended the 9/11 ceremony at Sussex County Community College. It was a beautiful ceremony. Highly recommend, if you can, get over there. I believe it's at 6 p.m. on 9/11. So just keep that in mind. Keep in mind the first responders that are still, you know, struggling with what we thought ended that day, right? Thank you.
I'm glad Councilmember Ohms brought up the road, because actually I did have a call from somebody that is on a private road, and I took the time to pull out all the deeds and the road agreement, and I will go out to my car and give that to our attorney. Maybe if you could just look at it, because I'm sure if you look at it, they're just trying to figure out, they called me and said, oh, can the town fix it? Well, no, you go ask, but you're a private road, so no. But at least if our attorney looks at it, could just say, you know, the legal ease in it, you know, as far as whether or not this agreement actually pertains, because the way the whole thing was done, it was not like Silver Spruce where everyone kind of owned a piece of it. It's different. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a look, and then
Sure.
this way they know that they may have to go to get an attorney and do whatever they need to do within their road.
Okay.
On my way to the meeting tonight, of course, I went by Smokies, and I was, that intersection, I was actually surprised the traffic going back was all the way past, like by Decker's Transportation there. And I just wondered, and I know that there's still a numerous amount of accidents, and the county was looking at that as one of their sites. Have they come back with anything at all?
Yeah, we had a yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, we had a discussion 2 weeks ago with them, and it's in their queue for maybe within the next 10 years they'll finally put a light there.
Oh, okay. So it's in the same place that Route 515 is in?
And myself, this afternoon, I was almost in an accident at that intersection.
No,
So-
they did bring up 515, that they hope to get us some information before the end of the year. However, you know, prompting them periodically throughout this year when they promised it, still hasn't gotten it to us any sooner.
Yeah, and it was fun. Last week, I was driving somebody to the high school. They had a large project that they were bringing, so they asked for me to, if I would drive them. And when I got to Smokies, there was a lot of cars. I purposely went in the middle. The person next to me actually straddled the double line, or the line there, to get around me, and then just never stopped. So it's, like I said, I just noticed that there were a lot of people, obviously coming home from work, but it was quite busy. Also, I've noticed since our last meeting, that the Little League volunteers have been working steadily on that, on their field over there, all volunteers. I've seen them with their own rented equipment, and then I did see them over the weekend. They probably had an employee volunteering, but they were working diligently to get that underway. Doreen Edwards asked if I would bring this to everyone's attention. The Lyme and Tick-Borne Disease Conference, it says, join Sussex County Community College and the Tick Squad on Saturday, October 5th, for an educational day prompting awareness about a common Northwest New Jersey health issue, tick-borne diseases. The NWNJ Lyme and Tick-Borne Diseases Conference is a free event, and it will be held Saturday, October 5th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the Sussex Performing Arts Center on its main campus in Newton. The conference will appeal to professionals and community members alike who want to learn more about tick-borne diseases and how to help identify and protect against infection. A keynote speaker, Patty Smith, the president of the Lyme Disease Association and member of Columbia University's Lyme and Tick-Borne Disease Research Center Advisory Committee, will lead the Lyme and tick-borne diseases. So it's that, and then she actually gave us a handout. Something else that I'd like to ask the council if they're interested is there's the theater teacher, Lindsay McAloney, in Vernon High School. She's working towards her master's, and a program that she has come out with is called It's Pledge to Pause Before Posting. And she will be, actually I received a message from the chamber, she'll be presenting this at the chamber on September 18th. And I was just wondering if you'd like us to invite her to a council meeting to do her presentation. And it's all about, posting online and I guess thinking about before you click. So I'll reach out to her and do that. Something else I came across is, haven't looked at this since I gave it to Councilmember Carreri, was our organizational chart in Vernon. And I don't believe it's posted online, so I'm just wondering if possibly the administration could update it and post it online, because it is a very handy tool, so people could actually understand the organizational chart of the town and of the local government. And I just wanted to bring notice to, because there have been comments made, and I just wanted to say that under the municipal council, the municipal clerk falls under the municipal council. The clerk is the employee of the council. The council hired the clerk. And I just wanted to because I think that there's some miscommunication with some members of the public from comments that were made to me and to other members. So I just think that if this organizational chart is put up, because like I said, the last one I have, some of the members have retired already, some of the employees have retired, so maybe if it's updated and if it could be posted, because I think that could be a little bit of a benefit.
So you're looking for names included with the...
Well, you could put the positions. It doesn't, even if it's,
Okay.
the names don't have to be there, as long as...
Okay, that's what
if
I'm
you have-
asking, whether you just wanted the
It's
positions.
probably easier because it seems to have changed a bit from just, like I said, the tax assessors changed, our chief of police, so it's, there's a few
Names
there.
would be good to put in a position of names.
Right, but what's happening is
I'd
it keeps
include the
changing.
names.
So another thing I'd like to mention is the Vernon Chamber will be hosting a meet and greet for mayoral candidates on Wednesday, October 23rd at the Senior Center from 6 to 8 p.m. It's not a debate, it's a meet and greet. And Mr. Frank Garrity will be there to introduce the candidates. Sorry, I have a few things. Brook Hollow Bridge. I'm not sure if you've spoken to Mr. Zaretsky lately. I've asked because winter's coming, and it was brought to my attention by one of the residents, and I did reach out to him a couple weeks ago, and he's been waiting for some of the residents to, I guess, pay him. So, but he is hoping to have this done before the winter. And I think when this started, I think John Urson was our attorney. So that was in 2016. So we're, right, because that was your first year. So 2016, and they still have to finish the temporary road before they could do the bridge. And like I said, depending on, I just thought because I followed up with that every once in a while, but everything's still sitting the same. So he said it should be done before winter because I guess residents are actually looking for it to be done.
One question
Yes.
with that. The temporary road, is that through our engineer? Is he having any oversight on that? Do you know?
I think there was going to be discussion because that's going to go out onto a county road, and they have to get county approval for that.
The only reason I ask, I just want to make sure if this temporary road is going in that the fire vehicles are able to maneuver it as opposed to probably the biggest thing going in there would be a fuel oil truck. That just wanted to make sure that they're gonna build it so we can.
Well, you can see it. You
drive by
you
and
can
see it
see
now.
you can see, I mean, it
I
looks
know.
pretty,
Just wanna make
yeah.
sure that,
Well, that was the whole, I mean, especially if it's, well, then they should get it going before winter. So, just saying, it's been quite a few years. Cedar Ridge removed, here. The street fair, actually, that the chamber hosted, that I say was a huge success. I mean, they were a tremendous amount, I mean, we had the perfect weather, tremendous amount of people showed up, and everybody seemed to have a good time. Wasn't too hot, no rain, so it was pretty nice. And congratulations to them, because it's, you know, they've put a lot of hard work into it. The road. One thing I'd mention too is, and this was brought, I'm not on Facebook, it was brought to my attention by a member of the public. And at one point there, and I had asked actually I asked the recreation director the one day whether or not some of the committees have any Facebook pages, and she said they did. I don't know this as a fact, but I was told that there was political information being posted on a committee's website. So I'm just, if it's a township committee, you know, I don't believe that there should be any political information
Do you
posted.
know what committee that is?
I can get you that information, but that's, like I said, it was, and I said to them, I don't know, I'm not in charge of it, and as far as that goes, I said, I'm not on Facebook, so, but I can ask. Let me just look through my sheets here. That's about it, so motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Be safe.